Hey Greg, we should talk about musicals.
Okay.
Welcome to Passion of the Geeks, the show in which two friends and fellow geeks talk about geek and pop culture and everything else we enjoy. I am Pat.
And I'm Greg.
And let's get on with it. Hello, Greg. Welcome to the new episode.
Hello, Pat.
How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Always excited. Today we're talking about musicals. But before we get into the musicals, do you have any follow-ups today, Greg?
Actually, there is a lot of follow-up today. In the last episode, we talked about the Super Mario re-releases that Nintendo just put out. And yeah, I couldn't resist, and I bought them, and I started playing them. And yeah, part of me is really excited. Part of me was a little bit underwhelmed that they just released basically emulated versions of these old games. So it kind of means that the games are still good, or at least still as good as I remember them. But the way they play, let's just say they could have improved a little bit there. Honestly, I'm really excited about Super Mario Galaxy. That one plays quite well. Some of the Wii-specific gestures don't really work that well, but okay. Super Mario Sunshine, actually pretty cool. Kind of, I like the gimmick of this water gun, because and Super Mario Sunshine, that's the only one I haven't played before. Super Mario 64, last time I mentioned that I hope they fix the camera. Unfortunately, they didn't. So yeah, Did you have a chance to play these games?
Yeah, I bought them, looked a bit into them. You know, I was really looking forward to this collection, not necessarily for myself, because I have all these games in their original incarnation, and I can play them enhanced on my PC if I'm not in the mood to connect my old N64 or GameCube or Wii. But yeah, the result left me a bit disappointed too. Yeah, as you said, Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy are all three pretty great games. And I think it's awesome that a new generation of gamers is now able to play them. But for the price, Nintendo really didn't do all that much. I was expecting real ports with improvements and enhancements, but all we actually get is emulated versions. They do manage to have the resolution a little bit higher, and they have a little bit of texture splicing going on. But yeah, I mean, for the price, I was just expecting more than that, really. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed.
It feels like a cash grab.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, Mario 64 isn't even 16:9. So they didn't even do that. They have higher resolution textures, and the font is much more readable than in the original. But yeah, I mean, one of the good things that perhaps comes from this is I do imagine that they made that emulation layer so they could actually get out more of these games. Maybe we will see Zelda Ocarina of Time next year when Zelda hits 35. So maybe there's something good coming from it. But the price is, that's not okay.
Yeah, but we still bought it.
Yeah, we did.
So yeah, they
Lemons.
have our money. And yeah, I mean, I'd be really excited about Zelda as well. And even though, as I said before, I'm a little bit disappointed, I probably will buy the Zelda one as well.
Very likely, yes.
Yeah, and yeah, so well done, Nintendo.
Well done.
My second piece of follow-up is actually about something that we talked a while back. You mentioned in a recent episode that lawsuit involving Enola Holmes.
Yeah.
Kind of the title character of a movie that Netflix was making at the time. The Enola Holmes movie has been released this week. Mm-hmm. I watched it, and it's actually pretty good.
Oh, cool. I didn't have time to watch it yet, so I'm really looking forward to that. So you would say it's pretty good?
It's a pretty good movie, not just for kids, although it's mainly aimed at the younger audience, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just doing really clever things. Obviously, they have to kind of shoulder the responsibility of kind of having this origin story movie, but also telling a really good story. So you kind of feel that a little bit in the second act. But other than that, it's a pretty solid movie, and I would like to see more of that character. Millie Bobby Brown plays Enola quite well, and she basically has to shoulder the whole movie, even though there is Sherlock Holmes as played by Henry Cavill and his brother Mycroft played by Sam Claflin. They're really good, and kind of the whole cast is actually pretty good. Helena Bonham Carter plays the mother of these Holmes children, and it's a really fun movie shouldered by kind of a cool young character, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, great. Now I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you. All right, then. Let's go to our Today I Found Out segment. Did you find something?
Well, it has been a few days, but Sony and Microsoft, they finally released the prices of their new console generation and release dates. So they're both coming out in November. Pre-orders have been, let's say, they could have gone better. PS5 and PS5 and Sony's Xboxes they were sold out quite early, and not everyone could get one, so they're promising more consoles. But I think the interesting part for me is, so the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, they both cost $499. Kind of price not going to be a big difference. Sony has an all-digital edition for $399. Some people might be into that. The one thing that really surprised me, though, is that together with the Xbox Series X, kind of the big, powerful console, Microsoft also is going to release the Series S, which is kind of a smaller, a little bit less powerful version of the Xbox for $299. And the thing is, that's kind of an interesting price point for someone who does not have an Xbox and is not part of that ecosystem, kind of to dabble its feet a little bit. Because $299, not the biggest investment. It's an all digital console, so you kind of need to maybe Microsoft Game Pass or whatever. But for $299 to have access to that, that's pretty interesting. That being said, I pre-ordered a Sony PlayStation 5. The way it looks right now, I don't get kind of one from the first shipment, but I should get one from the second, so probably early December I should get mine. What about you? Did you order any of these new consoles?
Well, actually, I was thinking about that and thinking quite hard about that because, well, first, let me tell you, the Xbox is not what interests me. And I'm sorry to all the Xbox fans that are listening to our podcast. As I said before, I'm mostly a PC gamer. And so basically, I would say 97% of all the games that come to Xbox are also coming to PC. So I've got that covered. And honestly, the PS5 has just more exclusives that I am personally interested in, exclusives that I want to play. So I'm definitely going to order a PS5. However, probably not this year. I probably wait until after Christmas season to get them a little cheaper because I have enough to play right now. So, and Cyberpunk will be on PC as well, so I have no reason right now to order a PS5. But I will do that, definitely.
I think Microsoft is perfectly fine with you not buying an Xbox.
I think so, yes.
And playing their games on your PC. But for me, who's not a PC gamer, who doesn't... I own a Mac, I don't own a PC. So kind of, the Series X, I'm thinking about it, to be honest. Maybe not this, probably not this year, but maybe next year or whatever, if I need to kill some time to try out a few Microsoft exclusive games. Why not?
Yeah, certainly, why not?
What about you? What's your news?
Yeah, well, recently Huawei announced HarmonyOS 2.0 and that they would start using their own operating systems early next year for all their smartphones. And because of that, I kind of wanted to take a very quick and hopefully unbiased look at these news. Because, I mean, we are geeks and we're interested in our smartphones, and HarmonyOS could be an exciting new player, a third player in the smartphone league. And I find that very, very interesting. Now, whether I would ever switch to HarmonyOS or not, that's not important right now. It's just that it is exciting for a couple of reasons. Because first, HarmonyOS is open source and can be modified and for any specific device by anyone. So meaning it will run very close to the device's hardware and could therefore theoretically be much more performant than any non-specific OS. Kind of like iOS, which is made for a specific hardware. And second, I mean, you could still theoretically use all of Android's software library, which is huge, except those apps relying on Google services. But Huawei provides their own services and provides support for app developers to kind of switch their apps around so they could use both Google and Huawei services. And since it's a distributed OS, which means it runs simultaneously on more than one hardware point, and they are kind of interconnected with each other, it could be something that users might find very, very comfortable, because it's even more interconnected than, say, iOS does. And you could theoretically interconnect every type of hardware, like kitchen appliances and a car and what. So I'm really looking forward to see what they are doing. But I mean, we will see how the public acceptance outside of China will be. I mean, most people don't even want to give their credit card information to a China-based service. And right now, I think there isn't a lot of trust. So this will be very tough for Huawei. But I find it an interesting development. What do you think about that?
Here's the thing. New products or new software and kind of competition in a marketplace, like the smartphone operating system marketplace, is always a good thing.
Yeah.
The caveat you're mentioning about China-based services and there not being a lot of trust, if you're really honest, there is no reason to trust American products more.
True.
Because kind of fact is, if you have a Chinese product with a Chinese service, they're probably listening. And if you have an American product with an American service, they are probably listening. So I think in the end, for me as a consumer, I want the best possible user experience. And kind of I like to think of the phone and its software as the product and not myself as the product. I'm an iPhone user. I love iOS. And the thing is with iOS, because I pay for it and I pay the Apple tax for it, basically, I kind of know what the product I bought is. I feel fairly secure with sharing my personal information with Apple because they don't need to use that personal information to make money. They're using it, obviously, to refine their services and stuff like that. But I don't feel that I'm the product there. And, I mean, Huawei, they're building their own phones as well. So if I buy a Huawei phone and get HarmonyOS, I mean, technically, I'm buying a product as well. It's just maybe, the Chinese government that's somewhere in the background. But if I'm really honest, my personal data is not that interesting. So, yeah.
Yeah, mine probably either. That's a good point, Greg. Really good point. So, we will see where this one goes.
We'll see.
Well, Greg, how about, did you check out something, or do you want to check us something out?
Well, I already mentioned Mario and Enola Holmes, so I just want to mention two quick things today. First of all, I played a little bit of Fall Guys. Have you heard of Fall Guys?
I have heard, but I haven't played it yet.
I heard a lot about it and people said it's fun, so I gave it a shot. And the thing is, it's actually really, really fun. So Fall Guys is a game, it's on PS4 and it's on Steam. And basically it's a battle royale race where it's about, you're kind of this chubby fall guy and have to kind of go through an obstacle course with 60 other players or 59 other players. And every round, the worst players, they're just cut off, or if you fall down in certain instances, you're kind of eliminated as well. And after 3, 4, I think 5 rounds, there is a winner. And it's just a lot of fun, and it's really cool to just sit down and play for 15 minutes because a round usually lasts for about 2 minutes or so. So, it's kind of a nice distraction, and it looks cute. It's nice. I just enjoyed playing it. I mean, obviously, I'm really bad at it. I think I've reached the final once, and I didn't even come close to winning. But it's this sense of advancing a stage, and then, I'm in stage 3 for the first time ever. It's kind of a cool feeling. And at least seeing the final finish line. Yeah. So Fall Guys, I have a lot of fun with it.
Sounds fun, yes.
The other thing I want to mention is I had to do a lot of grading last 2 weeks. So while grading, I kind of like to listen to relaxing music, kind of music that's not too loud and not too intense. So I either like to listen to soundtracks or sometimes classical music. And one kind of music or one composer I like to listen to a lot is Max Richter. He's a English-German composer, and is kind of one of his most famous pieces is the Four Seasons Recomposed. So he kind of took Vivaldi's Four Seasons and played around with it a little bit, used some electronics, and rearranged certain parts. And it's just a really soothing and kind of relaxing piece of music. And I just wanted to say, if you kind of need some new music in your life, some interesting music that's classically inspired, but not really classical, like the old classics, Max Richter is definitely something. I'd recommend the Four Seasons Recomposed, or if you want to start with something shorter, The Nature of Daylight, which was the piece of music that was featured in the movie Arrival by Denis Villeneuve. So some people might be familiar with that. So the music of Max Richter, always worth checking out. What about you?
Yeah, well, first, let me just say I've listened a little bit to Max Richter, and I agree wholeheartedly. So good choice, Greg. And thanks for reminding me. I haven't listened to him quite a while. So what I'm doing right now could have been a follow-up to last episode, but I thought I'd go a little bit into more detail and therefore talk about it in my checkout segment. I've watched Mulan, both Mulans actually, Disney's original animated movie and the new live-action remake. And your verdict about the 2020 Mulan last episode was, it's fine.
Fine.
Yes. And as I said, for a $200 million Disney blockbuster, this made me a little bit unhappy because, well, while I'm not really a fan of some of the Disney live-action remakes and downright hated others, I had great hopes for Mulan. I think we both agree that not making a scene-by-scene reshoot, but actually trying something new is a very good idea, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And seen on its own, I think Mulan is okay. There are a couple of things that had real potential when we ignore the original Mulan movie. I think the inclusion of the witch could have been great, kind of an evil mirror to what Mulan could become. And it's the same with Mulan's sisters, who shows us the life Mulan would have if she was quote unquote normal. I don't have a problem with their depiction of what Qi is supposed to be. I mean, there are other Chinese inspired games that go a similar route, even though I suspect that Chinese people will roll their eyes pretty hard. Again, on its own, the 2020 Mulan, it is okay. However, compared with the animated 1998 version of Mulan, it stinks. Maybe I should not have watched the original first. But yeah, I was expecting nothing based of your verdict, and I was still disappointed. I won't go into details, but I'm utterly, utterly disappointed. And the new Mulan lacks emotion. It lacks the endpoint balance between fun and drama. It lacks the positive message. I suppose we could fill an entire episode with both Mulans, so let's stop here and now. But I want to give the highest recommendations for the original Mulan, because I haven't seen it for a while, and it's a really, really good movie. Check that one out.
I can understand, your feelings, and when I said by fine, I think what I hear from you is that you liked it a little bit less than I did.
Probably,
but I obviously completely agree with you that one should watch the originals and not the live-action remakes. The live-action remakes, I think, they're all worse than their originals. I personally, I quite enjoyed Cinderella.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, the live-action ones, they lack certain qualities that the originals had, and Mulan is no exception there.
Yeah,
they did some interesting things, a few things I liked.
Oh, definitely.
I think the movie looks gorgeous, but compared to the original, it's obviously a letdown. Yeah, completely agree there.
Yeah, I agree. So then, let's dive into our topic of the week of this episode.
Finally.
Yes. I'm really looking forward to it. Musicals, Greg. Musicals. I love them.
Me too.
It's something I always do when I'm somewhere in a larger city where there's a huge musical stage. I always watch some musical, depending on how many nights I'll be there. And but Greg, tell me, what is it about musicals that is so great? What do you like about them most?
Musical theater combines so many things that I love in art. I love music. I love people acting. I like big special effects, cool visuals and everything. And musical theater brings it all together. And I would actually say that musical theater is my favorite kind of live art experience. Mm-hmm. It's a concert. It's a play. It's kind of a circus stage show with fireworks and costumes and everything. And that's what I just love about it. I look at musical as kind of when emotions are so high that you can't talk about them anymore, you start to sing. Mm-hmm. And when they're too high to sing about them, you start to dance. And that's just what I love about musicals, that they manage to kind of show, visualize emotions in a really interesting way. And yeah, a good power ballad or kind of a really good I Want song I just love it. I just love it. What about you?
Yeah, well, actually, you spoke from my heart, really. I mean, I'm a huge fan of stage plays. And just because I like how the audience gets everything unfiltered from the actors. I like the sort of connection you can create between actor and audience. And yeah, it's not like a movie where you get a string of more or less perfect scenes pasted together. A stage play probably is never perfect. There's always something the actor would have wanted done better, differently, or it just hasn't the same day every day. And the audience probably doesn't realize it. And a musical on stage adds this layer on top of it. The songs, as you said, if the actor's emotions get too much, he can no longer hold it in and bursts into a song or even into a dance. And a musical can be very, very kinetic, if that makes sense. There is just this spectacle going on stage. People sing, dance, and sometimes stage elements slide in and off stage. It's very, very fun to look at. It's probably something you could not watch every day, because a musical actually takes a lot from you as the audience. There are lots of concentration, and it can be tiring. But other than that, musicals are just awesome. Do you remember which was your first musical you have seen on a big musical stage?
I don't know. I have absolutely no. I have a couple of really cool life experiences, and I could probably kind of do some research and figure out. So yeah, I've seen that. So it must be the kind of the oldest one. I've obviously seen a lot of musicals on TV or in the cinema, but kind of those musicals I've seen live, those are just really memorable experiences, and kind of I treasure all of them. And here's the thing. If I watch a music on a stage, even if it's not that good, I usually still like it because of everything that's going on and all they're doing. And when you revisit it later, you think, yeah, but this wasn't so good. But while I was watching it live, I was really excited. So, yeah. I don't know which one was the first one. I think I remember all of them I've seen live. What about you? Do you remember your first one?
Yes, but it's a little easier with me because it was also the first time I actually was in a plane and flew somewhere. I was visiting London for the very first time in 1994. And the very first musical I've watched was Miss Saigon. But spoiler, we won't be talking about Miss Saigon today. And I've never seen Miss Saigon again. So it has been sometimes. I listen to it every now and then, but not in the same intention that I listen to other musicals. Shall we talk about which musicals we like and give our audience a little bit of a pointer, what we suggest are great musicals?
I think we could do that. So we each prepared a little list of 5 musicals that we really enjoy, with one song from them that we enjoy as well, or kind of one song that is really important there. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think we should use those to talk a little bit more about what we like and why we enjoy musicals so much. Yeah,
exactly.
Who's going to start?
Well, you're the guest today. You might start.
Okay, so the first one is Book of Mormon, Hello.
Changes so you won't burn in hell. You're gonna die someday, but if you read this book, you'll see that there's another
Yeah, I remember like it was yesterday. It was 2011, and I flew to America, I think for the first time in my life. I decided to take a trip to Washington and then later New York. And for me, it was just obvious that kind of going to New York, I have to see as many Broadway musicals as possible. And then I heard that Matt Stone and Trey Parker of South Park, that they were putting on a musical about Mormons. And part of me just decided, okay, I have to see this. So I booked tickets early. Actually, I booked my tickets before the whole hype about the Book of Mormon started. And I went to watch it. And I think up to that point, it was probably one of the best musicals I've ever seen. It was so fun, so heartwarming. And the thing is, I think compared to South Park, which I'm not the biggest fan of, it was actually not mean. It was kind of sweet and kind of, they're making fun of Mormons, but not in a mean way. And the reason why I picked Hello, it's, in my opinion, it's just a perfect opening number that sets the scene and sets the stage really well for what's about to come and introduces you to this kind of interesting and weird world of kind of Mormon missionaries. And kind of the one thing I only realized later, that the Book of Mormon was not just by Matt Stone and Trey Parker, it was also by Robert Lopez. And Robert Lopez, he actually composed Avenue Q as well. He's also, together with his wife, he did Frozen, Let It Go, and so on. And I think what's interesting, I went to the Book of Mormon for Matt Stone and Trey Parker, but I think I stayed and kind of enjoyed it even more for Robert Lopez. So, yeah, Book of Mormon, I just really like that one. What about you?
Well, this is an excellent choice, Greg. Book of Mormon would have definitely been in my list as well if you wouldn't have picked it before me. So, and Hello is a great opening. I don't know which one I would have taken. Maybe You and Me, but mostly me, because I like how that song goes. But it's a brilliant musical, and you have chosen a brilliant song. And I remember that we both watched it together in New York, and you told me, let's go watch that. That's awesome. And I was like, from the creators of South Park, I don't know. But you told me one or two things, and then I was sold. And it's one of my favorites. Great choice.
I could have picked every song of that musical. I mean, I Believe is a great song. Turn It Off is a great song. I mean, there's so many great songs. I think the reason why I picked Hello, I pick an opening number as my first choice here, kind of to stay with musical etiquette a little bit.
No, that's
Book
great.
of Mormon, highly recommended.
Highly recommend.
What's your first choice?
Well, my first choice, and that was already a hard choice because I kind of had to decide between two musicals by Frank Wildhorn, and I love both of them. One is his hit musical Jekyll and Hyde, and the other, which I am picking, is the lesser known but equally awesome 1997 musical, The Scarlet Pimpernel.
Are there mountains that surround us? Are there walls that block the way? Knock 'em down, strip 'em back, boys, and forward and into the fray. Into terror, into valor, charge ahead, no, never turn. Yes, it's into the fire we fly, and the devil will burn. Someone has raised the valley flashing, we have to rally and win. Boys, when the world is saying no to my God, you know you've got to march on. Boys, never hold back your step.
As I mentioned, it's by Frank Wildhorn with lyrics by Nan Knighton. And it actually went through several revisions, and I think they're now on version 4.0. Sounds a little bit like software. It's based on the novel by Baroness Emushka Ozri, which was released in 1905 and tells the story of, essentially the English aristocrat version of Zorro or Batman. It's Sir Percy Blakeney, who pretends to be a foolish man and excessively concerned with his appearance, but he dresses up as the Scarlet Pimpernel during the night and rescues people from the guillotine. So it's like a hero story. It's a bit spy superhero story. And of course, there's a typical antagonist in the form of Javelin, who tries to catch the Pimpernel with the help of a Belgian spy named Grappin, who actually is just a disguised Percy and naturally feeds Javelin false information. It's a really awesome musical. I like it a lot. It's about love and betrayal, and especially it's a lot of fun. And there's a lot of great songs I could have taken because it has really great ensemble numbers. Wildhorn just nails them. And the one I've chosen is Into the Fire, which is a rousing solo that turns into an awesome ensemble piece that, true to its name, ignites the passion. And I mean, it's sung when the Scarlet Pimpernel recruits his friends from and they form the Scarlet League. And honestly, if Percy would sing that song in front of me, I would not waste another second and join him. It's a really great song. Did you know the musical?
Unfortunately, I've never seen it, but I was familiar with the Scarlet Pimpernel. I came across it once on kind of while falling into YouTube or a YouTube or Google or Wikipedia rabbit hole about researching Batman. So I came across Scarlet Pimpernel, basically Zorro meets Batman, blah blah blah, and obviously, but there is a musical. And I listened to some songs and I thought, okay, this is probably the closest we're ever going to get to a Batman musical. So, yeah, I have to agree with you that especially the kind of the ensemble numbers, they're really cool. They're really cool. And I have to admit, I prefer the Scarlet Pimpernel to Jekyll and Hyde, actually.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, maybe me too. I really like Jekyll and Hyde. It has some great numbers, especially the ensemble numbers. But yeah, in the end, I think the Scarlet Pimpernel is a little better. I like that one. Yeah, so back to you, Greg.
I'm continuing with big Broadway shows that mean a lot to me. A couple of years later, when I again went to America, I think it was my third time, I decided to watch as many musicals as possible. And one musical I definitely wanted to watch was Hamilton. My shot.
Too loud. Sometimes I get overexcited, shoot off at the mouth. I never had a group of friends before. I promise that I'll make y'all proud.
Let's get this guy in front of a crowd.
I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey, yo, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey, yo, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot.
Everybody sing.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, whoa, whoa, whoa.
So let 'em hear you. Let's go. I said shout it to the rooftop. Sit to the rooftop.
What is there to say about Hamilton that hasn't been said before? Probably everyone who wants or kind of needs to see Hamilton had a chance by now because Hamilton has been released on Disney+. And for me, to this day, Hamilton is probably the coolest live theater experience I ever had. The way the show is structured, the way the show looks and sounds, it's just marvelous. And My Shot, for me, it's a really cool I Want song that becomes even better when you notice the kind of dramatic irony of what happens to Hamilton in the end of his story. So kind of without being kind of out spoiling it too much, kind of the idea that he sings about that he does not want to waste his shot. And yeah, what he does at the end of his life, it's just marvelous that you can do that in a piece of art. I will always cherish this theater experience because I've watched it on Disney Plus and it's really good, but it doesn't compare to when you see it live on stage and they do all these crazy things in front of you. Hamilton by Lin-Manuel Miranda, probably the best musical theater experience I've ever had in my life.
Well, that's high praise, yes.
Yeah.
Well, you have kind of recommended Hamilton to me, or even to us, a couple of episodes ago, and I've watched it on Disney Plus. And first, let me tell you, I'm actually not a huge rap fan, even though I think people who can do that, especially with the kind of pronunciation they managed to staccato out, that gets nothing but high praise from me. And Hamilton manages to do something with rap that I actually liked it. Perhaps because a lot of normal rap kind of has strange lyrics that I cannot stand behind. But in Hamilton, the rap really works. But if you just watch it on Disney Plus and not live, the energy from the actors and the audience is missing. So it gets more tiring to listen to them. I think it's. I can imagine that it is certainly much more energetic when you were on a live performance. And I mean, just the opening number with Alexander Hamilton, it's really awesome. And I especially like how it ends with this wonderful song they have at the end. That's not a great finale, but it's such a fitting end. And I know not everything is historically accurate, but they don't want to be. I mean, they even say that in their lyrics that they don't know everything. And I mean, it's based on a book that had these problems as well. So, but it's a really fun musical that I would really love to see live on stage one day.
Yeah, if you have the chance, definitely do that. And yeah, as they say, or as they sing in the last number, it really is about who lives, who dies, who tells your story.
Yeah.
Wonderful song as well.
Wonderful song.
What about your second choice?
Yeah, my second choice is one I sadly haven't seen live on stage as well. I watched a recording and, of course, I have listened to it many times. I really would love to see it live one day. It's the 1996 musical Ragtime by Stephen Flaherty and Lynn Ahrens. True to its name, there is a lot of ragtime music in there, but the title refers even more just to the era. It's arguably a slightly overblown story around three social groups of American inhabitants of New York at the turn of the century. African Americans, white upper-class families, and Jews. And sprinkled in with a lot of historical figures like Harry Houdini, Henry Ford, Booker Washington, and some more. It's a true ensemble musical where, of course, single characters don't have as much time to develop as they may have deserved. But honestly, I really would not want to cut anyone out. It has a lot of great music, as I said, not just ragtime, and some great character themes that are mixed together in different songs. And I have chosen the finale of the first act, which is the song that actually brought me to ragtime till we reached that day. And it's sung at a point when some of the main characters are at their lowest, and they lament that briefly where they are, but they don't linger on that. Instead, they look into the future with a lot of hope for that times will change, and they're just not there yet. It's a very hopeful song, and it leaves you with such a great mood into the intermission between the acts. I mean, the finale is great as well, but this is the song that brought me there to ragtime. Have you seen ragtime? Do you know it?
I've never seen nor heard of ragtime before today. You shared the song in our show notes, so I obviously had a quick listen to it. And yeah, it's a really good song, and I probably have to at least listen to the whole album at some point. But other than that, I can't say much more. It's a really good song, and it made me interested in what else is there on that CD or what else is there in that play, in that musical. Yeah, good choice as well. It's always nice to discover new things.
Yeah, that's true. Well, then back to you.
Well, I'm gonna go for an older thing. One of my favorites, Little Shop of Horrors, Suddenly Seymour.
Tell me this feeling lasts till forever. Tell me the bad times are clean washed away.
Please understand that it's still strange and frightening. For losers like I've been, it's so hard to say. Suddenly Seymour, suddenly Seymour, purified you. Suddenly Seymour, suddenly Seymour, showed me I can.
I have to admit, I've never seen Little Shop of Horrors on in the theater, but I've seen it on screen. I've seen the 1986 movie, and how should I put it? We watched it together with some friends, and I think to this day, some of my friends consider this the worst movie they ever watched. And sometimes I question why these people are still my friends. But then I watched that movie again, and I think, yeah, it's okay if I'm the only one, or if the others don't enjoy this. And for those of you who don't know, Little Shop of Horrors is based on a 1960s movie by Roger Corman that was in 1982 was turned into a musical by Alan Menken and Howard Ashman. And in 1986, they made a movie with Steve Martin, Rick Moranis, and Alan Green. And yeah, Rick Moranis as Seymour. I just think that's perfect casting for a perfect movie about a flesh-eating giant plant from space. And yeah, I mean, what's not to love? It's a musical about a giant flesh-eating plant from outer space. Do I need to say more? It's music by Alan Menken. and giant flesh-eating plants from outer space. This checks all my boxes. I am not kidding. This is so great, and the songs are awesome and wonderful and funny and heartfelt. There's a song about the dentist, and it's just the most truest thing about dentists that has ever been said or sung or whatever. I mean, it basically reveals that, yeah, let's be honest, all dentists are a little bit sadistic. And yeah, it just makes sense. And yeah, Little Shop of Horrors, if you haven't seen it, stop this podcast now, or maybe listen to Patrick's and my other 2 choices or 3 choices, and then go watch it. But yeah, if you have to watch one thing from my list, watch Little Shop of Horrors. Patrick, what do you say? Do you still want to be my friend?
I'm sorry, Greg. That was the most hilarious and on point description of Little Shop of Horrors that I have ever heard. You should write the new Wikipedia article about that, because you're absolutely, completely right. It's such an awesome movie. It has an awesome cast, and the songs are, well, awesome. There is nothing else to say about that. No, I have never seen Little Shop of Horrors on stage. I would really love to see it, because on stage it has a little bit a darker ending than the movie has. So, yeah, that would be interesting. But yeah, honestly, this is one song after another that is just great. And Suddenly Seymour is a very good choice. It has this, well, how should I put it? It has this growth in it. Probably my favorite piece would be Skid Row, or Downtown as it's also called.
Really good as well, yeah.
It's hard to choose. I mean, Feed Me Seymour is great.
It's Menken and Ashman.
Yeah,
those two
what
guys,
can-
they just knew what they were doing.
Yeah. And the stage musical has an additional song named Don't Feed the Plant, which isn't in the movie. Or I think there's a version where they added it or something.
I'm
not
think
sure.
so, yeah. Yeah.
But actually, the movie has sort of I would say, a happy end. And the stage play seems to have this utterly devastation of Earth with that awesome song at the end. So, no, really, Greg is right. You really should watch Little Shop of Horrors. All right. Oh,
Okay.
Well,
how are you going to follow this one?
yeah, you leave me a bit of a hard point here. Well, okay, I go kind of the opposite direction. I want to talk about a musical with which I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship. My next pick is the 2003 musical Wicked by Stephen Schwartz and Winnie Holzman.
Unlimited. Together we're unlimited. Together we'll be the greatest team there's ever been. Glinda dreams the way we planned them. If we work in tandem, there's no fight we cannot win. Just you and I defying gravity. With you and I defying gravity. They'll never bring us down.
This tells the story about Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West from The Wizard of Oz. And much like in the later Disney movie Maleficent with Angelina Jolie, it kind of tries to make the former villain more relatable in a slightly jarring, oh no, the Wicked Witch actually wasn't evil at all way. And I mean, in my opinion, it destroys a perfectly fine villain. So the story itself is not the high point, in my opinion. A lot of people love it. It retcons a lot of the story of The Wizard of Oz. And I mean, if you have only seen the 1939 movie and never read an Oz book or seen the awesome 1985 Return to Oz, it's fine. The story is fine. It does a couple of nice and interesting things with the former main characters, with the Tin Man and the Scarecrow and the Cowardly Lion. It just does not work if you have read the books, because they all have another backstory there. But I mean, it's an adaptation, and as we always say, it's fine for an adaptation to do its own thing. And because in the end, the characters of Elphaba and the other main character, Glinda, the Good Witch, they're pretty cool. They have a really nice relationship with each other, and it has some great ensemble pieces, really nice character themes, and there are lots of songs I could have chosen for today, like the really touching For Good, which is such a nice duet. But I have chosen the big number, again, the finale of the first act, Defying Gravity, which kind of makes Elphaba into her antagonist form, even though she is not the antagonist. So it's a very, very rousing song, and especially on stage, it's so well directed. What they do with the stage around her and stuff, it's really breathtaking, and the song is fun. It reminds me a bit of that one very famous Frozen song that everyone always listens to. I think it's a great song. It has great music. Just not really satisfied with the story. What about you, Greg?
I really like Wicked, and I actually enjoy the story as well. I did not mind kind of retconning Wizard of Oz, because, yeah, I like Wizard of Oz, but I'm not attached to it. But kind of I liked the story they told, and as you mentioned, especially the relationships between the characters. And Defying Gravity, I have to admit, it's probably one of my favorite show-stopping power ballads there is. And I mean, there is a reason why kind of every musical tries to get a song like this, because, yeah, this is the song that people remember afterwards. This is the song that people try to sing. Yeah, Defying Gravity, when they did Let It Go, for sure that they tried to emulate kind of these show-stopping number like this. The success of Wicked is mainly based around kind of how well known and how good this song is. Because I think to some extent, a lot of musicals have a lot of songs that no one remembers that are really good, but is one standout song that helps basically a musical get wings and become part of popular culture. And I would say that for Frozen, it's definitely Let It Go. For Wicked, it's definitely Defying Gravity. And I could kind of, obviously I kind of have some other songs somewhere buried back in my mind, but Defying Gravity is the only song title from Wicked I can give you. From Frozen, it's Let It Go and then Do You Want to Build a Snowman? Those are the only two songs I kind of remember the title. Obviously, all these songs are good, but there are some standout songs, and Defying Gravity is definitely one of those songs. And yeah, I've seen it live on Broadway as well. And when I start flying in front of you on stage, that's just magic.
Indeed. Well said. Well then, it's your turn again.
Yeah, I'm gonna change my list up a little bit at this point because I wanted to include one choice that's not a big Broadway number or kind of a big Broadway show. So I'm picking Falling Slowly from the movie Once. Once is a 2008 movie directed by John Carney. He later went on to direct other movies. One of his more famous ones, and my favorite, is actually Sing Street, that came out a couple of years ago. Once is about two street musicians, or kind of about a street musicians and a street vendor, kind of a busker and a street vendor. And it's just a wonderful, romantic movie musical centered around the relationship of these two people. And what I really like about it is that the song was actually written by the two people who star in the movie and perform them. So that's Glenn Hansard and Marketa Irglova. And it's just, it feels so more honest if you know that, okay, these two people, they wrote this song. They're performing it. And kind of they have these feelings, or kind of they know what they're singing about. And Falling Slowly is just wonderfully, it's a romantic song, a little whimsical maybe, but that kind of builds into a crescendo as well. But it's just one of my favorite romantic songs, and it's no surprise that this song actually won the Oscar for Best Song that year. So yeah, Falling Slowly and the whole movie Once, highly recommended, as I do every other movie by John Carney. Have you seen Once, Pat?
Not yet, but now I definitely will. Thank you for that recommendation. I've listened to your song pick, and it's a really wonderful song. I mean, you've described it so well. I don't think there's anything I can add to that. And I'm really looking forward to see Once.
Maybe your wife might enjoy it as well, actually.
Oh, yeah. That's actually a good idea. Well, then, it's my turn.
You're number 4, yeah.
Number 4. Okay. With number 4, I really wanted to go to one musical that I would always consider to be one of my favorites ever. And, well, generally this list is not ranked, but the one I'm talking about now is one I really, really love. And that is the 1996 musical Rent by Jonathan Larson.
How do you start a fire when there's nothing to burn and it feels like something's stuck in your flue? How can you generate heat when you can't feel your feet and they're turning blue? You light up a mean blaze, post and screenplays. How we gonna pay? How we gonna pay? How we gonna pay last year's rent?
I know I'm late in my list to open with an opening number, but the opening number, Rent, just summarizes the whole musical so well. It opens so perfectly, in my opinion, because the musical is about a group of different people all living in 90s New York, and they all have to struggle in one way or another. One has AIDS, one is transgender, one is a lesbian. And I mean, it's a little heavy-handed with what they all have. This group, it's a really colorful group there. But the musical manages to touch each of these problems so well and with so much heart that every time I listen to it, it really deeply touches me. And at the point when I get to the finale, I am in tears every time. It's so well written, in my opinion, and it just makes it all the much sadder that Jonathan Larson didn't live to see the premiere of his own musical, because he died about a day or two before it was, just after giving his very first and last interview. And maybe that story helps to get through the musical. I don't know, but all of that together, and I mean, this is what musicals are about. It's not just the story, and it's not just the songs. It's everything that is mixed together, and this wholly works. I mean, it's basically based on La Bohème by Puccini, the opera, but in such a very, very well-made modern look that I just cannot say anything else than give my highest recommendations to Rent. What do you think about it?
What you said about Wicked, that you like the songs, but you have problems with the story, for me, that's Rent. I love pretty much all the songs in it. They're really cool songs and great music. But I, for some reason, and I wish I did, I just don't connect to the story. I wish I could love Rent, but for some reason I just don't. I find the characters really annoying and pretentious and basically just full of themselves. Seasons of Love, for example, is a great song. Rent, the opening number, is a great song. But other than that, the story, it just does not connect to me. I don't like the characters, and it's a little bit too much for me, I think. But yeah, I wish I could love Rent as much as you do, because I actually think the songs are really, really good. But
they are.
Yeah, for some weird reason, I just don't connect to it.
No, I think that's totally understandable. I mean, there is a lot in there, and each of the characters is always acting as the story needs to, and I think it would probably would have gotten a couple of revisions if Jonathan Larson would still be alive, because there's certainly things about Rent that could go smoother, that you could flesh out. I totally understand. I like the character, as I said, but I can understand everyone who thinks, no, this is too much. So no hard feelings about that.
Oh, yeah.
But it's again your pick.
My last one. And before I pick my last one, I just want to mention, my list is unranked, and there's so many great musicals I couldn't choose for today because we decided to only pick 5. So I don't want to offend all those songs and all those musicals I really loved that I did not pick. My last pick is You Will Be Found from Dear Evan Hansen. Dear Evan Hansen is a musical I basically walked into by accident. I was in New York. I think it was the same time I was there to watch Hamilton. And yeah, it was just Dear Evan Hansen everywhere. So I decided to give it a shot. And I was not disappointed. It's a musical by Benj Pasek and Justin Paul. They're mostly known as Pasek and Paul. They're quite prolific at the moment. They're actually having Snow White. They're doing a new Snow White for Disney. They did La La Land. They did Greatest Showman. And so yeah, they're big in the game. And I think Dear Evan Hansen was their first original Broadway musical they did. It's the story about kind of a social, awkward teenager who uses a tragedy that happens in his school to basically become popular, kind of to connect with people. And it's a really interesting story about, kind of what people do to fit in, how people process grief, and kind of just generally how people cope with bad things happening to them. And it's the musical and the way it was staged at a very modern feel, kind of. They incorporated social media and things into the play, and it was just a really interesting experience. And there's so many great songs in there as well. And you will be found. It's just one that I instantly connected with. There are others for Forever, and it's just Dear Evan Hansen, great album just to listen to, and a great show to watch on stage and participate in. So yeah, Dear Evan Hansen by Pasek and Paul. I highly recommend it as well. Have you ever heard of this one?
Actually, no. I was completely surprised by your decision to include that. And I listened to it, and it's actually pretty awesome. Just going by the lyrics, because I haven't seen it, I've only listened to the songs. Going by the lyrics, there's a lot of stuff that touches me because I felt similarly when I was around 17 or barely 18. So I could immediately connect to the character of Evan, even though he goes a little far with some of his ideas, but I mean, it needs to be a stage play, doesn't it? But I like the songs. I like the style they have. They kind of reminded me a bit of Brent, but I really like that, and I really wish to see that one, even if it would just be a recording. But I want to see the play so I can get more of that story. So it was a really great choice, and I'm really glad I know.
It's part of our mission statement.
Yeah.
What's your last choice?
The last choice, yeah. How should I put it? I mean, as you said, Greg, this is not a ranked list, but if it would be a ranked list, this pick would probably be my number one. Of course, I'm talking about the 1985 Les Miserables.
They will wet themselves one day more.
Watch them run amok, catch them as they fall. Never know your luck when there's a free-for-all. Here a little dip, there a little touch. Most of them are gone, so they won't miss much.
One day to a new beginning.
Les Miserables was the second musical I have ever seen in 1994, just after Miss Saigon. And I liked Miss Saigon, but when I've seen Les Miserables, I saw what musicals are actually capable of. It takes the novel by Victor Hugo and compresses it down to a about 3-hour musical. It enhances a couple of characters, and it tells such a great story. I mean, the story about Jean Valjean and his antagonist, Javert, is legendary, and for good reason. It's a timeless tale. And the songs by Claude Michel Schoenberg are so awesome, especially, again, the ensemble numbers. And the one I have chosen is, again, the finale of the first act, One Day More. A song, again, that has so much hope in it. I can do no other thing than just feel energized as well to go out and do something. This kind of song kind of shows what I love about musicals. The different leitmotifs of characters coming together, different emotions in the same song sung at the same time, and they all get through you. It's such a wonderful song, and I always get goosebumps whenever I hear it. I have seen Les Miserables multiple times. Basically, every time I manage to get to London, I will go and see Les Miserables. It's just such an awesome musical. What do you think about it?
I'm so glad you put it on your list so that I could pick 5 other things, because I completely agree. Les Miserables is probably my favorite musical as well. I've seen it twice on stage, and every song is really good. Kind of the whole stage production is just breathtaking. And the fact that they were able to take such a long winding book at some point, in some parts, and condense it into a 3-hour musical that is entertaining, that has heart, and that elicits lots of emotions. It's just a feat of genius. And One Day More, the way that all the melodies of all the characters either are used in a different way or are introduced and later come back in another way, it's just pure genius of musical storytelling. And yeah, if you listen to One Day More, and as you said, if you're not excited, I think you're dead inside.
Yeah.
It's just really great to see what can be done with music, song, and performances. And yeah, I think there's nothing to add there. Les Miserables, don't judge it by the movie version.
Don't do that.
Because the movie version actually butchers some of the songs, and it's really weird. I mean, I'm not saying that it's completely horrible, but compared to the stage show, it's like the original Mulan and the remake of Mulan.
Yes, exactly. I mean, maybe at one point we could go a bit into a deep dive why the movie is not that good, or why it didn't work, because it butchered the songs, as you said. But not today. We're running long as it is. Greg, is there something you want to add to musicals in general?
As you said, we're running long, and I think we're definitely gonna do another episode about musicals. I just want to say that, as I said in the beginning, I love musicals because they check all my boxes, especially if there are flesh-eating plants from space involved. Go to any musical, because even if it's not good, there's at least something in there that might do something for you, that might actually give you a good feeling. So give musicals a chance.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's wrap it up.
One thing to mention, we already also compiled a Spotify playlist with the full versions of all the little bits or all the little songs we share with you today. So if you want to kind of listen to the full songs, and the whole album is usually just a click away, check out the Spotify playlist.
Yeah, definitely do that. And we will definitely make another musical episode. It has been a lot of fun. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah.
So, this is it for this week. Please like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. We're on all major podcast services and on www.passionofthegeeks.com. And you can send questions or suggestions to passionofthegeeks@gmail.com. And you can find us on Twitter at PassionOTGeeks. So, then, Greg?
Well, it's nice talking to you.
You too. Take care.
Have a nice day, Pat.
To infinity and beyond.